Desmond, thank you, David. Actually, we've got about 10 minutes to go before the start of the first semi-final, but it really does make your mouth water when you look at the athletes who are involved. We're getting a real taste of what true world competition is about. The Olympic Games, of course, because of political activity, have never really produced in the last few years the head-on confrontations we're getting here. The 1983 World Championships, the first ones in Helsinki, did produce that sort of competition in track and field, and it's happening again this time. I mean, just look at the lineup for the first semi-final. McRae, I'm talking about the top four, never mind the rest, and the rest could come through. With the top four, McRae, Pavoni, Ben Johnson, Linford Christie in the same semi-final. Linford Christie, well, what he did yesterday shows that in spite of Lewis's run in the morning, 10.05, and he broke the championship record, Linford Christie is in with a chance. Ben Johnson and Carl Lewis have got to remain first and second favourites. But if Christie gets a good start, well, anything could happen.
Yes, indeed. And what's more, there's a following breeze that's going to please this man. He's a big fella, 6'2½". He's a broad back. And that, when he gets a breeze behind him, is going to be helpful. And remember, too, that he's at his best. He's run 10.03. That's faster than Witherspoon or Lewis. Johnson is the man with 9.95 to his credit. But Linford gets a chance to go first with Johnson. And there's the powerhouse sitting down. He's built like a weightlifter, isn't he? And then if they can put a bit of a fix on Carl Lewis looked utterly superb. The perfect design for a great sprinter. Power cleverly disguised by elegance. But if they run up in seconds, then it's going to put a pressure on Carl Lewis. It's semi-final. And no easy mode. Mickey Barlow for a place, one of those four into the.
While you were talking, Ron, you said about the following wind. That's what they're looking for, of course, within the permitted limit. But having said that, even while you were talking, the wind changed round, and that happens in this stadium. Although in the actual floor of the stadium, the wind doesn't get down there as strongly as it normally does in the higher areas, where you can see the flags blowing very straight out.
You're absolutely right, David, because before I said it, I looked at that flag and it was absolutely blowing at just the same speed in the other direction, and I thought, my word, with that sort of breeze behind Linford Christie, 10 seconds is going to look quite human. Now it's dropped a bit. If you could see the flags now, it's swirling around. So we're just hoping. But to go back onto the theme that David was saying, there are 165 countries here. And the theme that I've been developing is that it's only in athletics that the whole world can come. You can't see the whole world in the America's Cup, can you? Because half the nations in the world couldn't afford a rowing boat, let alone the millions that are spent in the name of sport. But here, especially in the non-sophisticated events, everyone has a chance. And we're seeing gold medals and other medals go to third world countries, and that is what true sport is all about. So there's the Jamaican-born Canadian with a lot resting on his shoulders. He still hasn't got his shoes on, but I listened to Don Quarry, who was on a newscast last night. They had to translate into Italian, but Don Quarry was saying there's a whole stack of kids behind him in Jamaica. Some may come to Britain, some may go to Canada, but the Jamaicans believe they can sprint. They love the sun on their back. And never mind the 1,500 metres and the 5,000 metres, they don't want to know that. There's been a long traditions, the McKinleys and the Wints, all those that have gone before. And they believe they can sprint, and they love it when it's hot and a slight breeze behind them. You don't have to tell them. And here's Ben Johnson for Canada, despite their great traditions in ice hockey and things. He's the Canadian Sportsman of the Year. So he's putting track and field on the map in Canada in no uncertain way.
Tremendous West Indian influence, of course, in Canadian athletics. And actually, if you look at the number of sprinters and 400-metre runners they've got, two born Westers emigrated to Canada. Well, if you took them out, the Canadians wouldn't have a sprint or 400-metre relay team, either men or women. Incidentally, just looking ahead, and I'm sure that you've been reminded from the studio about this, this is a very strong afternoon of track and field. We've not only got the 100-metre semi-final, we've also got the first of the 400-metre hurdles. Men's walk over 20 kilometres. There's a women's 400-metre semi-final, no British interest in that. Men's 100-metre final, for women's 100-metre final. And then we've got round 2 of the 8 meets for men and semi-final men. Round 2, all 3 Britons are through. That is Elliott, Tom Bean and Tony Rell. The women's 100 and 1 British entrant, and she is qualified. And that is the developing talent of Diane Edwards of Sale Harriers. In the field events, we've got the women's high jump final. No British interest in that, but a lot of interest in the men's javelin final, with Mick Hill and Dave Otley both throwing for Great Britain.
There were 3 competitors for Britain to begin with, but Roald Bradstock, the former British record holder, he went out with a 75-metre throw. Dave Otley, he qualified with 78 metres and 64, and Mick Hill with 78 metres and 88. There's a very good Soviet athlete in Viktor Yezyukov in this final, and Jan Zalesny of Czechoslovakia, the world record holder, he's there too. And Tom Petranov of the United States, he's the only competitor remaining from that final in Helsinki in 1983, and he's faring well too. He's a former world record holder with the old javelin, and set the targets for the new javelin as well in its early days. There is no championship best performance for the javelin because the specification of the implement changed after 1983, and of course the new figures will be set today. But it is the most competitive event, and with 2 Britons in this final, well, it's absolutely marvellous, the prospect. David Otley, Olympic silver medalist, and Mick Hill, first international in 1986, has come of age, certainly. He came of age in Sweden earlier on this year when he threw over 85 metres and set a new United Kingdom record. So that's to whet the appetite for a little later on.
Well, there's been a major talk in this morning, the IAAF complaining to the organising committee here about what happened in last night's 10,000 metres, which really was quite unforgivable. When the lap marker, the lap counter, was wrongly adjusted, actually there were mistakes made from about 3 laps out, and still got it totally wrong in the end. And there's been a major talk in. I think, and it's unfair to say anything more than think, the medal positions were not affected, but who knows?
Certainly there were some athletes who were badly affected in an individual way. Paul Williams of Canada, for example, who stopped running, was thus prevented from getting a total grant that would take him all the way through the Olympic Games. And many of the countries have standards which they set in the World Championships with the build-up to Seoul. So there were many individual athletes that were affected in various ways and very badly. There were 5 official complaints over that 10,000 metres, and I sincerely hope there are a lot of complaints at the finish of the marathon too, when those girls came through the tunnel after 26 miles and not knowing whether they had 1 or 2 laps. There wasn't a drink in hand, there wasn't a blanket in hand, there wasn't an official to greet them, and none of their own team managers allowed on the arena. They looked totally lost, and I think that there was just a half-an-hour patch at the end of the 10,000 metres and at the end of the marathon where the Italians let their slip show.
Carl Lewis just loosening up there. He's got a fairly heavy tracksuit on, which is rather surprising because the temperature at the moment is in the high 80s. Of course, it is true for sprinters that the more you warm up, in some senses, the better. But it was rather surprising yesterday to see experienced marathon runners before running 26 miles, 385 yards in very, very warm conditions, even bothering to warm up. I remember Brendan Foster in 1974, when he won the 5,000 metres, didn't bother at all. He just jogged, walked around. He didn't warm up at all. And I do think that could be a major mistake for a lot of the distance athletes. Meanwhile, the sprinters, though, they've got to produce the engine working, and there's the lineup for the first semi-final, which is due in 2 minutes. Berger, the Austrian record holder, in lane 1. Yevgeniev of the Soviet Union in lane 2. McRae, America, in lane 3. Agwan Yi Kami of Ghana in lane 4. Pavoni of Italy in lane 5. Ben Johnson of Canada in lane 6. Lynn Christie of Great Britain in lane number 7. And Andy Smith, Jamaica, in lane number 8.
I've got to say it's terrific that Lynn Christie's drawn next to Ben Johnson, because if anything's going to improve his start, it's having Ben Johnson right next to him.
He's been working on the start. He got it right yesterday. Another check on the lineup. And in some senses, if you put Carl Lewis in this, it looks like a final. As Berger, what an improving athlete he is. The new Austrian record holder. Yevgeniev of the Soviet Union, former European 200 meters indoor champion. Lee McRae, America, 3rd in the American Championship. Kog Uram of Ghana. Pavoni, the Italian. And these pictures you're seeing are going up on the major scoreboard here. The Italian supporters are responding. Ben Johnson, the fastest man in the world this year. Linford Christie, the fastest Briton ever. Andy Smith of Jamaica, finalist of the Pan American Games. The first 4 go through, so this is sudden death. The final later this afternoon. The first 4 into the final. And for Johnson, he's got to get off the blocks fast. Christie finishes fast. The wind slightly against. Got them away very smoothly indeed. And Johnson got the brilliant start we know he can do. Linford Christie storming through the later stages. Johnson eases down. Christie in second place and Pavoni in third place. That's the 1, 2, 3. Those 3 sure to go through. But Johnson showed then what the game is all about. Starting, dominating, getting away well. What do to Steve was well away there. He said, "We go, but trouble." He finished in third place and qualified. The great Italian favourite. But Christie said to me some time ago, "I may have one great start in me this season, and I hope it's in the World Championship final." But Johnson got it right. He's looking at the replay.
Linford Christie's going to need it. What Johnson did to him then was paralysing, really. Linford Christie was 1.5 meters down at 10. And that means he's struggling to get to that fluent part of the race where he pours on the accelerator from 60 meters in. Johnson had a remarkable start. He's looking at Pavoni. Pier Francesco Pavoni's picked himself up. He refused the stretcher, and the Italians got so excited because he flung himself at the line. And as David Coleman was saying, I think he got third place and has made his way to the final. He's delighted, the crowd behind him, but it looked pretty dramatic.
Well, the Italians have a reputation for producing good drama. Watch Ben Johnson, look at that, he's left Christie. And Christie must be wondering what he's got to do. He gets the start right, though. It could be a different ball game, because Johnson can relax at the moment, but he's not good over the last 20 metres. Christie in second place, Pavoni was third, the 2 together, but Johnson cruising. The time 10.16. Christie second, Pavoni third, and I think Berger, the Austrian record holder, finished in 4th place.
And Pavoni didn't fall, he clutched his thigh about 10 meters past the line. Look at the wide arm grasp that he's got. Now, mechanically, you'd say that Christie's was the better start because the shoulders should be high so that the drive goes through the shoulders. But Johnson is up, he's like a bullet. He's absolutely upright and into his running. And look at the pressure Pavoni's under, and the strain just to try and close that gap. Christie now beginning to flow, but it's taken him a major part of the race. He can look forward now and relax and make sure he's made the final, but what's he going to do about Johnson, because he's still had 1.5 meters to go?
Perhaps the best thing about that is that Christie knows exactly what he's got to do. He may have to gamble in the final to get a break, but look at the gap here, which occurs in the first 10 to 15 meters. What happens actually is that the staccato striding pattern of Ben Johnson, he's very upright very quickly, takes him into the lead, his pickup is quicker, and he's, what, 1.5 meters up on Christie. Now, Christie starts to come through, but this is disguised by Ben Johnson slowing down. But we all know Johnson's got a problem in the last 80 to 100 meters, in the last 20 meters, where Christie's coming strong, and so too, by the way, is Carl Lewis. And I think, by the way, looking at that lot, as I said, Pavoni was third. It looks like Berger on the far side, but only the still frame for the judges will produce that information.